Hey, Magnus here, and today we're going to go through the review of Shenmue and Shenmue 2 HD release. But recently, I was in the video game conference and I was looking for Cory Marshall. I wonder how that went. So here we are at GameCon, got in, and this is quite an experience. I'm excited, let's go. And if it's too loud in here, that's because I'm trying to see if I could get 50 seconds, maybe a minute to play DDR. I'm a huge DDR freak, and if I get a chance, I'd be all up on it. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the Shenmue and Shenmue 2 HD re-release review. Now, this release is very polarizing. On the one hand, you have a large community that was looking forward to this release to be able to replay a game that they fell in love with over the years. Then there's the other end, the perspective of modern players and older players who have never played this game at all, but are curious to find out what the fuss is all about. I myself purchased both games for the Dreamcast on their prospective release dates and have appreciated these games since those dates. So this review will be split into two sections. First, we'll review it from the perspective of a modern gamer with no Shenmue experience. Then we'll switch modes and review it from a nostalgic gamer's perspective. So let's get started with the modern gaming perspective review. So when you start either game, you're greeted with a very simple menu that gives you the choice between options, start, and continue. The graphics options in either the console versions or the PC versions are pretty basic and not very complex. You can turn certain effects on and off, and you can also change the resolution up to UHD on the Steam version. Once you start, you're greeted with an opening cinematic that uses the game's in-engine 4x3 perspective mode. Though it looks pretty good for an older game, you're not going to be impressed by the graphics when compared to modern games, but it will catch your attention with the events that unfold. Slight spoilers for the intro. You take the role as the protagonist, Ryo Hazuki, as he arrives home and finds that his father is being murdered by a man that is looking for a mirror. This mirror, though I don't see anyone's reflection through it, bears a hidden significance in the game that you will try to discover as you play the game. Ryo's quest then becomes to find out who these men were, where did they come from, and finally, to seek revenge for his dad's murder. Right when you finally take over gameplay, your first instinct is to move the analog stick to move around. You start in the bedroom, but you'll notice quickly that movement is a bit strange. You can't just point the stick in a certain direction and go towards there. Movement is basically similar to tank controls. Up is forward, and left and right turn you in those directions. To look around, you'll have to hold down a shoulder button, then move with the analog stick. It's a bit clunky, but you can get used to it in his bedroom. That is the purpose of the complexity of his bedroom. When I first played this game 18 years ago on the Dreamcast, I felt the control was clunky back then as well. However, when you give it time, you almost begin to understand the purpose of doing it that way. The Dreamcast had 6 buttons and 1 analog stick, so in order to make it so you can interact with every detail, you almost had to have those clunky controls. But today's modern gamer might find this a bit difficult to work with at first, as I did when I first played it. So you've got clunky controls, dated graphics, and what next do you have to deal with? Well, the first game is slow. Very slow. You'll be asking everyone questions and just poking around everywhere. Though this game might have been revolutionary when it came out, by today's standards, you don't care that you can pet a cat, pick up an object, or collect figurines. There's no point. Where's the action? It's there, but it's spread out in the first game. You have to talk and investigate and wait and talk and wait and wait, and oh snap, a fight! Finally! This game is one of patience. You have to get involved in the story in order to really appreciate it. But will you hang around? Occasionally, you'll have to wait for events to happen in real time, and though distractions such as the arcade or collectibles or just talking with others in the community can be fun, eventually it gets old and you'll find yourself putting down the controller and walking away while you wait for the next event to take place. Can't escape it, but that's just it. If you give this game the time, the story is interesting enough to keep you playing for more. Basically, that's what you've got to hang on to, this story. Let's talk about a couple of the gameplay mechanics. First, the QTEs. QTEs existed well before Shenmue, with games such as Dragon's Lair. However, QTEs were given a name and a style with this game. But face it, you either love them or you hate them. They are laid out well in the game and do keep you interested in what's going on. Next, free quest mode. Basically playing the main story, asking questions as you talk with people, and the distractions of the game. This mode is a mixed bag. The story progression in itself is a lot of fun, and side games like playing in the arcade or forklift racing can be cool, but they are few and far between and can be repetitive. There are only so many times you can play the same games over and over again for hours before you just rather let the game sit there until the next part of the story is ready. Thankfully, in Shenmue 2, you have the option to skip time for the next scheduled event, and there are plenty more mini-games and ways of earning money in order to progress the story much faster. Shenmue 2's pacing is much better and pulls you into the story a lot quicker than the first Shenmue. Third mode is Free Battle. In Free Battle, the fighting engine used in the game was largely based on the classic fighting engine from Virtua Fighter. In various sections throughout the game, you have the ability to collect scrolls, meet people who will teach you new moves, and also spar and train to fight with this engine. In the beginning of the game, fights are rare and simple, but by the end of the first game, you're in a 70-man battle that is challenging and fun at the same time. Though the combat itself can be occasionally frustrating, such as when someone hits you from the back because you couldn't turn around and hit them on time, or when the camera moves in directions while you're just trying to control your character. But overall, they are mostly fun. By the time you reach the second game, fights are a lot more frequent, but always feel epic every time they pop up. You'll appreciate the deepness of the fighting style, but don't expect it to be a one-button masher or come close to anything like Batman's Arkham series. You will lose battles, no doubt about it. Final thoughts from a new gamer's perspective is that the game is for a true hardcore gamer that loves good stories and can look past minor imperfections to have the story move forward. This game is a must-try for modern gamers if you appreciate good single-player campaigns with a good story. So definitely check it out and try to get past the first few hours. If you're not hooked, then you might never like this game. But when it grabs you, it'll never let you go. You want proof? Ask anyone who played this game in the early 2000s waiting for Shenmue 3.
Let's see if I can get a second to play. Finished that session of DDR. Man, that game brings me back. Love that game. Maybe one day I'll do a Let's Play live review of Dance Dance Revolution. But until then, we gotta find Corey Marshall. But before that, I gotta head to the men's restroom. Gotta dry up.
Now let's move on and go on to the nostalgic gamer's perspective review. First, take everything I've said so far in my previous review for new gamers into consideration. It still holds true. But what makes nostalgic gamers come back? The nostalgia that they feel when they play the game, of course. Now, since this is a remaster, not a remake, you're basically getting the same game from almost 20 years ago with a few new tweaks. First, let's go over the obvious. Playing this game in HD is such a great feeling. To interact with everything in high definition is awesome. So what that means is not only you'll get to play in widescreen, but the HUDs and the menus have been redone to look so much better. Differences from the Dreamcast and Xbox releases really come from the enhanced resolution and all of the HUD interactions. So from when you look at your notebook to when you're just looking at your moveset, all of it has been redone to an improved HD look. Best of all, speaking specifically for the first Shenmue, you now have the ability to save from anywhere and anytime in the game. Previously in the Dreamcast version, you had to run home to your bedroom in order to save the game. But now you can save from anywhere, which is such a great addition. Now those looking for an upgrade in audio quality unfortunately will be disappointed. In the original Dreamcast release, audio seemed to be a bit muffled and could have been better quality.
Do you remember Chao Sun-Ming?
Chao?
That's the name of the man you killed in Moon Swoon.
It can't be. You!
Get up. I'll allow you to die like a warrior. Do you remember Chao Sun-Ming?
Chao?
That's the name of the man you killed in Moon Swoon.
It can't be. You!
Get up. I'll allow you to die like a warrior.
Updated patch could be released that hopefully if they get hold of better quality or can improve the audio quality, it'll of course change the audio experience. Now I know that there has been a recent update. I have not checked that out yet because I wrote my review before that came out, but if it's improved the quality, let me know in the comments down below and I'll check it out. However, a nice note when it comes to audio is the fact that you can listen to both Japanese and English voiceovers. My personal opinion is that each language is worth listening to, regardless if you understand each language or not. I do not understand much Japanese, however, it's extremely entertaining to listen to those voiceovers, both because it feels natural to the situation and the voice actors seem to be much more appropriate and acted well from the Japanese voiceovers.
超孫命を覚えているな。超。もう孫命。お前が殺した男の名だ。まさか、お前は。来い。最後は武術家らしく死なせてやる。
When it comes to the English voiceovers, they're also great because of their legendary quotes and just enjoyable bad voice acting. Also, the nostalgia of the voice acting is very strong.
Excuse me,
Yes? What is it?
do you know anything about the Mad Angels?
Hey, watch what you say. Don't talk about them so loudly.
Okay. About the Mad Angels,
You're too fresh and unspoiled. We should aim for better things than life on the harbor. I know all about how to get an audition.
no, I'm not interested. About the Mad Angels,
You're way too attractive to want to hang with them. Don't waste your life on the harbor. Let's make it big in show business. I know all about how to get an audition.
no, I'm not interested.
Now let's move on to the other thing to take note of, the cutscenes. The cutscenes return in all of their glory, and by that, I mean they're represented in exactly the same 4x3 format that they were originally presented in. Some might see this as a good thing, as it keeps the nostalgia high. My personal takeaway is that I wish they could have found a way to make these scenes widescreen. If not Shenmue 1, at the very least Shenmue 2. Shenmue 2's cutscenes were edited in a way to take full advantage of a widescreen aspect ratio. But for whatever reason, it's presented in a letterbox format in the re-release. From what I understand, it's a miracle that this game was even ported in itself. From what I heard, this game was extremely hard to work on, and it was done with a team of about 20 people working off and on it. Only time will tell if it will get patches for it. For nostalgic gamers, this game is a must-buy and play, no doubt about it. You may be disappointed with a lack of new material and improved quality voiceovers, but at the same time, now you can finally play a good, working Shenmue without having to dust off the Dreamcast and hope that the laser can still read the discs. So let me stop right there and check up on whether I found Corey Marshall or not and what actually happened in the event. Check it out.
Just been informed that Corey Marshall left, and I didn't get here in time. It's such a shame. I was looking forward to it, but at the same time I forgot my Shenmue disc, so that's horrible. I'm still sweating. Behind me is Angry Video Game Nerd, but no disrespect to Angry Video Game Nerd. I wanted to see Corey Marshall and Adam Corlick. Huge fans. I'm huge fans of Angry Game Nerd as well, but today was about Shenmue. Huge fan of Console Wars, huge fan, and I love any exposure that I get with them. Console Wars, you gotta watch that channel. See you later.
Well, it's a darn shame I didn't run into Corey Marshall, but it was nice to run into Dan from Console Wars. That was an amazing experience. He's a super nice guy. Definitely check out the Console Wars section. So, all in all, that's what that is. But in conclusion for my video and for the review, is that for nostalgic gamers, it's a must-buy, must-play. And I'm sure that if I'm saying this and you're a nostalgic gamer for Shenmue, you already played it and probably beat it. Now for new gamers, as long as you give it time and you're into stories, this game will grab you guys too. Hopefully you new gamers are playing it as well, either before and you already discovered it, or after you see my review. And if you do, let me know what you think. But as always, like, share, and you could make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.